Before I start my review on the final episode of Blake 7, just a very quick recap of events on the previous episode. Avon tries to raise this sort of ragtag army of warlords to oppose the Federation, but unfortunately one of them is working with Servalan and plants explosives in the base which go off and literally damage the base beyond any kind of serious repair. So Avon's plan of warlords has fallen through, with the possibility of one of the other warlords betraying Avon and co, and the location of the base to the Federation. Avon takes the decision it's time to flee. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the very final episode of Blake 7. This is where it all ends. What a way to go. Blake. So, with the base almost kaput, it's time to flee, and that's exactly what they do. Avon and co flee and blow up the rest of the base behind them. So they set forth in Scorpio, and Avon is looking for a figurehead. And that figurehead is found on GP, Sulin's own home planet, Galda Prima. Not a very nice place to be on, Galda Prima. Crooks, thieves, gun smugglers, and bounty hunters. Villa, smirking at Avon, surmises that Avon has finally found Blake, and that's exactly where Blake is. He is on GP. Blake is a bounty hunter. He's on the lookout for a particular person or woman, and he comes face to face with her and basically says, your stalking abilities are terrible, and what are you doing with a Federation gun? Anyway, so he shares his meal with her. She pays him back by giving him this Federation gun, but she doesn't realise that Blake is a bounty hunter and he wants her. Meanwhile, back on Scorpio, Avon reveals all, and it does look like it is indeed Blake on GP. Back on GP, Blake shoots 3 others who actually were bounty hunters working with him, because he now turns the gun on Arlen, the mysterious woman. Meanwhile, back on Scorpio, things are hotting up. As they approach GP, they fall under attack, and they take very severe damage. So Blake has now Arlen in custody, and he takes her back to the base to pick up his bounty. While this is all going on, of course, Scorpio is, well, finished, to put it mildly. The attackers have done their job. Scorpio is heading straight towards GP, almost out of control. Tarrant is doing his best to crash land Scorpio. So, with the prospect of crashing on GP, there is only one option open to them. It's risky, but they got no choice: to use the teleport. And so Avon teleports Sulin, Dana and Villa down to GP, and in return Aurak operates the controls automatically to get Avon teleported down to GP, while they witness flying overhead a out of control Scorpio Tarrant is wrestling with the controls to try and get Scorpio down in one piece. It's a tough assignment, but Tarrant does indeed crash land Scorpio. Meanwhile, Blake has picked up his bounty from his boss, Diva, and hears the news of the crash. And he decides to take a look when he flies out on his next job. Meanwhile, Avon tells Aurak to send out some sort of distress call to get the attention of somebody or other, whoever it is on GP. Sulene, Dana and Villa come across a run-down old shack at night, and they decide to spend the night in it, but unfortunately leaving Villa on guard is not a very wise decision, as they come face to face with some very nasty people. Back on board the crashed Scorpio, Slave is about to shut down for the last time as he gives his final report to Tarrant, who's not quite alert. Back at the shack, fortunately for Sulene, Dana and Villa, Avon also discovers them and shoots the intruders. Very fortunate for them that Avon turns up. So, Blake discovers the wreckage of Scorpio and he comes face to face with Tarrant, picks him up and takes him back to his base of operation, obviously not letting on who he is. Fortunately for Avon and Co., they too have commandeered a flyer that clearly belonged to the people Avon shot. Meanwhile, back with Blake, he has revealed a fascinating fact about Jenna. Jenna has also bit the dust, and he tells Tarrant this short story about her. So, arriving back at base, Blake turns the tables on Tarrant, grabs his gun, and tells Diva Tarrant has a very high price on his head, along with some others also. Blake goes on about the others, and he also mentions Aurak. At this point, Tarrant has finally worked it out. He's face to face with Blake, and promptly escapes. And this is an absolutely devastating blow to Blake, because Blake is actually recruiting. He's recruited Arlon, who's passed his own personal test. He's recruiting an army. Tarrant, meanwhile, runs into the rest of the crew and he tells Avon, Blake has sold us out. He sold us down the river. And so we come to the famous scene where Blake walks in on them with Arlon, and Avon points his gun at Blake, asking Blake, have you betrayed us? Have you betrayed me? Blake, obviously looking at the barrel of the gun, chooses his words wisely, but unfortunately they are not good enough, because he basically says to Avon, it's me, Blake. Trust your feelings, sort of thing. But Avon, staring at Blake, is so convinced of what Tarrant has just told him. Avon pulls the trigger. Avon shoots Blake. and an incredible scene where Avon has obviously misunderstood the situation, and of course Tarrant only gave him some of the information. Avon now stares down at the body of Blake. He went to such great lengths to try and meet Blake, to be with him again. Even Villa, Sulin, Dana and Tarrant can't believe what has just happened. Has Blake really betrayed them? Well, no, he hasn't, has he? But unfortunately for Blake, this is his end. He meets his end by Avon, who shoots him, and not the Federation. It's at this point that Arlen reveals herself to be a Federation officer. Blake failed to spot her for what she was, Federation. Arlen tells everyone to drop their guns. Arlen has already shot Diva. Avon is just standing there looking down at the dead body of Blake. So everybody sort of drops their guns. The alarms are going off. Security forces are on their way. And now we come to the grand final. Arlen shoots Dana as she attempts to shoot Arlen, obviously. Villa goes up to Arlen and knocks her gun out of her hand, thinking, okay, we've just salvaged what's left of everyone who's left. But unfortunately, no, that's not the case. Because Villa has just been shot by the security forces in the back. And as the security forces slug it out with the remaining crew, one by one, they're about to fall. Completely outgunned by the Federation. Sulin takes one of the troopers out, but inevitably there are too many of them, and they also take her out. And all that's now left standing is Avon and Tarrant. But the strange thing is, Avon's not even involved in this shootout. He's just standing there. And it's Tarrant who fires the last shot, you could say, before Tarrant is finally succumbed to overwhelming odds, and he also meets his end. So after the shootout, only Avon is standing. And as the Federation security forces walk in and surround Avon gradually, pointing their guns at him, Avon acknowledges them. He steps over the body of Blake, and then he does something extraordinary. He raises his gun and then smiles. And what we don't see, but we hear, a volley of Federation guns firing. So here we go with my final thoughts on the very final episode of Blake 7. What a cracking episode. It's a sad episode that we know they all bite the dust. It's over and the Federation have finally defeated them. But nevertheless, we do get a ending, and it's a very suitable ending. I find it that this shootout takes place in a confined area, and the odds are so heavily stacked against them. It's incredible, while all this shootout's going on, that Avon just stands there. It's very strange, that. Very strange indeed. And of course, Tarrant making that bolt for it, believing that Blake is a traitor, when in fact he wasn't in possession of the full facts, as Blake was trying to raise a resistance against the Federation. And that look on Avon's face, have you betrayed me? That look. And that shocking scene where Avon shoots Blake. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yes, so overall, Season 4 was somewhat poor. And I've just chosen these 4 episodes out of the whole of the Season 4, because in my mind these are the much better episodes of the season. They are. Yeah, so it finally ends. Well, I suppose it had to eventually. But what an ending we got. Yeah, it's incredible. So, yeah, and well, I don't really know what more I can say to add to it. Fantastic. And I think it was a clever idea in bringing Blake back for the grand final. And this time he was brought back for real, not an illusion as he was in the end of Season 3. It really was Blake. Yep. Great stuff. And, well, that's a wrap then. That's my selection of the entire season of Blake 7. As I said, these are only selected episodes of Blake 7. These are my favourite episodes, you could say, ranging from good to outstanding. And on that note, have a great day. Goodbye.